I know your exact story. You're a six-figure engineer. You're analytical, disciplined, and earning well doing work most people couldn't begin to understand. But under the surface, you're exhausted, and not just physically. You've been bottling things up for years. You don't talk about your stress. You don't process your emotions. You just push forward, tell yourself to man up, and bury it under deadlines and data. I completely understand your pain. I've coached and worked with six-figure engineers from mechanical, electrical, civil, and industrial. All these men are brilliant in their field, but privately they're struggling emotionally. And I've seen the same pattern happen over and over again. That's why I created the 5-pillar framework. 5 key areas to help engineers rebuild their internal strength while still performing at a high level. This video will show you exactly how using an evaluation of a member who recently joined. Because what's the point of a brilliant career if emotionally you're barely holding it together? So let's go ahead and jump into the video. So for the first part of this evaluation, we're gonna begin with the career analyzation. So we've identified 5 different career levels. There's warrior, specialist, entrepreneur, CEO, creator, and coach. And so like most six-figure earners, he is currently at the specialist stage because his position is currently a mechanical engineer. And so for those who might be confused, what a specialist means that you've mastered one skill, and because you've mastered this one skill, usually you're being compensated pretty well for it, which is why he's a six-figure earner. To get to the next level, which is the entrepreneur stage, or also you can identify that as the entrepreneur stage. What he wants to become is either a senior engineer or a lead engineer. And here is one of the most interesting things that a lot of guys get it confused in their careers. When it goes to going from level 2 to level 3, what's so important is that you build your leadership skills. In order to get to the specialist stage, it's primarily based on you mastering the skill that's required for your field, whether it's engineering, architecture, coding, whatever it may be. So I highly advise guys who are looking to break into that next level, especially wanting to grow in this area, grow in leadership, read great leadership books, and invest in leadership coaches. That's going to give you tons of growth in your career. And the coolest part is that engineers are usually very smart guys, so they do very well when it comes to learning new things. But because these guys are so smart, it leads to their biggest weakness in their lives, and we'll identify that when we go to the 5-pillar evaluation. So the next part of the evaluation is the 5-pillar evaluation. So in the standard, we believe in holistic excellence, excellence in every area, physically, emotionally, spiritually, socially, and financially. So what a lot of guys like to do who are doing well financially is they want to go ahead and double down on the financial and neglect the other areas, which is why we go ahead and do this evaluation to see, okay, which is the area that you're neglecting and is going to cause you your biggest issues. Are you a six-figure earner who is stuck and doesn't know how to take his life to the next level? I'm not just talking financially, but physically, emotionally, spiritually, and socially. Well, in 1 minute, you can begin the transformation of your life. Just go to sixfigurequiz.com. There, you're going to fill out a quick survey that's going to reveal the roadblocks of preventing your success based upon the 5 pillars of excellence, as you can see right here. It's absolutely free. That's sixfigurequiz.com, the number sixfigurequiz.com, or click the link in the show notes or via the link in the bio. And if you want our team to give you a personalized guide to help you grow, on the next page, apply for the standard, and we love to support you. All right, let's get back to the episode. So what you find is that this guy is doing very well financially, level 2 financially, not the strongest socially, but he's doing okay, to say the least, actually in great shape, which is surprising because a lot of times these engineer types sometimes let themselves go, unless in architecture, because usually those guys are really fit for some reason. And then spiritually, he's actually really strong in his faith. He's a guy who actually gives a ton of money to his church. So he's doing very well spiritually. But the biggest area of his weakness that so many engineers neglect is the emotional, where he's currently level 0. And let me explain to you guys why. So many engineers, because they're good at math, they're good at logic, what happens is they tend to neglect this emotional area. What they simply believe is that, hey, my job is to think, not to feel. So it's very easy for them to put their feelings on the back burners, even though they have deep issues that have been affecting them in their everyday lives. So here is their biggest excuse. I'm doing well financially. It's not bothering me. Who cares? Oh my gosh, this thing always bugs me whenever people throw this excuse. Because what happens is, because they have no concept of holistic excellence, because they have no concept of, yo, you could be doing so much better in the areas that you actually like. If you neglect this biggest area, so many guys don't think it's a big deal because they're performing. You know what it reminds me of, guys? It reminds me of the athlete who has a torn meniscus, or he has a severe injury, but because he can play at a good enough level, it's like, what's the big deal that my meniscus is torn or my ACL is hanging by a thread? It doesn't matter. Yes, it does matter. You could be doing so much better if you didn't neglect this area. And let me tell you what happens. Because engineers are really smart, super driven, they usually come from backgrounds where they either felt inadequate growing up, so they worked really, really hard to prove themselves. And especially for my immigrant type engineers, you came from a family where your parents pushed you so freaking hard to the point where sometimes that really tore down who you are and strained your relationship with them. And so even though you don't think it's a big deal, ask yourself the following question. When you're around your parents, are you still angry? Are you still resentful? Are you still upset about things that happened in the past? And be honest, do you still feel imposter syndrome? Do you still feel that you're not good enough, even though you're earning decent money? And if you're honest, the answer to both those questions is yes. So don't allow these excuses that I'm doing well financially to neglect the glaring weaknesses in your life. Guys, here is why the emotional pillar is so important. What people love to talk about in today's world is physical health. And physical health is important because obviously you want your body to be important. But there's also this huge thing when it comes to emotional health. And here's where it shows the most. When you are sleeping at night, what keeps you up? When no one else is looking, what drugs are you taking? What pills are you consuming? What pornographic material are you ingesting to be able to deal with some of your pain? You see, emotional health to me is the silent killer of men. And a lot of guys who want to work, grind, they like to shut that noise off while they're working. But guess what? You're eventually going to have to lay down. And then when you lay down, that's when the voices and the demons begin to speak and begin to cause you to feel all those negative emotions that you've been dealing with. So my biggest thing is that I want every man to be free. I want every man to live the best life possible. And if you're still running from your demons because you have not addressed your emotional issues, that is not health. So the coolest part about when we do these evaluations with our members is not just about identifying where they're weak at, but we want to give them tangible strategies that they can go ahead and apply today. And here is something that these guys absolutely hate. And I'll be honest with you, it takes literally World War III for these guys to actually do it. And what it requires of you is to go ahead and grab a journal. And for the first time in your life, I need you to write down and begin to process the things in your past that you neglected. And here are 3 things I want you to go ahead and do. Write out every single person in your family that you have deep issues with that affect you today. Number 2, write out that girl, you know who she is, from that past relationships that made you feel inadequate and caused you to have issues today. And then the third thing, I want you to write down what is the belief that you have now acquired because of the issues in your past. And once you do that and you've addressed the issues, you've moved to level 1. But I really want to get you to level 2. And for those that want to know what level 2 is, obviously go ahead and, tap into the standard, and I could be able to support you with that area, because a lot of guys do not like what level 2 requires, but it's the most important thing. And I am telling you, the coolest part about guys who are level 0 emotionally is that the moment you address these issues. I'm not making this up. I've done the anecdotal data myself, and I guarantee if anyone does a survey, they'll find the same results as I do. You'll join and become one of the top 10% of men emotionally, because most men will never address this. Most men never deal with their past wounds. So my biggest thing is, remember, guys, we want to be men of excellence in all areas. So by doing this and writing these things down, it becomes a complete game changer in your life. And the book recommendation that I usually give guys who are struggling in this area is the Healing Heartbreak Journal by Stefan Labossiere. Guys, I know by the title it sounds like it's for girls, but trust me, it is absolutely great, especially for the more logical guys, because it literally gives you straight strategy on what to do to deal with issues in your past. So I would highly advise you guys to check out that book. It's a great investment. And here's the deal. If you are going to get that book, actually do the things that it said. Don't just read it, because it's a workbook for a reason. So go ahead and tap into that. So what I like to do at the end of every evaluation is I like to paint a vision of what their life could look like once they solve this issue, because here's reality. This can be extremely daunting for guys, but if you can see what it looks like, if you can have that vision, it changes the game and it begins to motivate you. So I'm gonna go ahead and share with you guys what I would usually tell a guy who's dealing with this issue. You're inside your house packing your bags, and your kids are asking you, Dad, do you have to go again? Though you would love to spend time with them, you have to speak at this conference because so many people have loved all the cutting edge things that you brought into your career. But what people don't realize is what helps you become so efficient, what helped you really grow as one of the premier leaders in your field, is that you were able to deal with your past issues. You were able to get so many hours of sleep. And because you had a clarity of mind, what happened was you became more efficient and you became better than ever before. So as you walk out that door and give your wife and kids a kiss as you enter into that Uber, obviously black, you look back and you remember on that day when you decided to take your emotional health seriously. And on that day, everything changed and you became the man that God created you to be. So guys, I hope that helped. And as always, health is wealth, especially emotional health. If you want to go ahead and take the quick evaluation and see your results, go to the link in the description below. And if you want me and my team to go ahead and give you a personal evaluation as well as a custom game plan to your life, go ahead on the next page, apply to join to the standard. Thank you guys so much and have a great day.